Why does it always seem like the smartest person in the room is the first one to go quiet, and then just gone? You know the signs. They read every text within a minute, then reply 3 days later. They cancel plans they made themselves with a reason that's technically true. They go from always in the group chat to a name people stop tagging. They have a perfectly good excuse for every missed birthday, and in their head, it sounds fair. I'm not ghosting anyone, I just need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready. So they tell themselves they're just introverted, just bad with people, just wired that way. But that's not it. The real reason isn't a lack of social skill. It's a nervous system that never learned to trust closeness, only to manage it, like a risk to control, instead of a gift to receive. And here's the part nobody warns you about. This doesn't stay a phase. Left alone, it grows. It becomes the reason someone wakes up at 40 with a great career, a sharp mind, and almost no one left who actually knows them. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down why highly intelligent, highly capable people quietly disappear from the lives of the people who love them. Fair warning, this one might hit close to home if you've ever been the one who pulled away. Stick with it, because by the end, you'll understand exactly what's driving it, and the first real step out. There's actually a name for this. Psychologists call it avoidant attachment. Some people nickname it the disappearing act. The idea comes from John Bowlby, the psychologist known as the father of attachment theory. He spent his career studying how our earliest bonds shape the way we connect with people for the rest of our lives. And here's the first thing you need to understand. This isn't about intelligence. It isn't about being cold. It isn't about not caring. In fact, some of the most thoughtful, most loyal people you'll ever meet carry this pattern. So what's really going on? At its core, it's a deep, often unconscious fear. A fear that getting close to someone will eventually cost you something. Your independence, your safety, your sense of control over your own life. Think of it like a smoke detector that's a little too sensitive. It's not broken, it's not useless. It's just reacting to smoke that isn't actually a fire, going off the moment closeness starts to build, even when nothing is truly wrong. That's what's happening under the surface. Not a lack of feeling, not a lack of love, just a built-in alarm system, set years ago, still trying to protect someone from a danger that isn't there anymore. So how does this actually show up in real life? Through something psychologists call intellectualization. That's just a fancy word for using logic to manage a feeling, instead of actually feeling it. Let's make it real. At work, they'll spend a full hour breaking down a conflict with a coworker. Every angle, every possible reason it happened, but never once say the simple truth: it hurt. At home, they'll give you a calm, detailed, totally reasonable explanation for why they skipped family dinner, instead of just saying, I felt overwhelmed and couldn't face it. And in relationships, this one stings a little. They can explain their partner's attachment style in perfect detail, down to the textbook definition, while somehow never turning that same lens on themselves. See the pattern? In every domain, the mind reaches for analysis instead of emotion. And here's why. Think of a feeling like a hot stove. Emotion says, don't touch, that will burn. But intellectualization steps in and says, let's study the chemistry of heat instead. It's not laziness, it's not dishonesty. It's the mind buying itself distance, turning something that feels dangerous like being hurt or needing someone into a safe little puzzle it can solve from far away. Solving a puzzle feels safe, feeling a feeling doesn't. So the mind keeps choosing the puzzle every single time, without even realizing it's doing it. So where does this pattern actually start? Almost always it traces back to childhood. Not always a dramatic one. Sometimes it's a caregiver who was inconsistent, warm one day, distant the next. Sometimes it's a caregiver who was intrusive, who never gave the child any space to just be. And sometimes it's simpler than that. a home where being self-sufficient got praised and needing help quietly did not. A child growing up in that kind of world learns a rule without anyone ever saying it out loud. People are unpredictable, but my own mind is not. So they start routing every need for connection through logic instead of trust. Thinking becomes safer than feeling. Planning becomes safer than needing. There's an old idea that captures this perfectly. It's called the hedgehog's dilemma, from the philosopher Schopenhauer. Picture a group of hedgehogs on a freezing night. They huddle together for warmth because they need each other to survive. But the closer they get, the more their quills start to prick. So they pull apart, then they get cold again. So they huddle back up, back and forth, all night long, never quite finding a distance that's warm enough and safe enough at the same time. That's not a flaw, that's just what it looks like to need people while also being afraid of them. Now let's get practical. Here are 3 traps to watch for. In yourself or in someone you love. Trap 1. The preemptive exit. This is when someone leaves a relationship, a job, or a friend group right as it starts asking more of them emotionally. It almost never looks dramatic. There's no big blow-up, no slammed door. It's a slow fade, a sudden, busy season that never really ends. A move to a new city that just happens to line up with things getting close. Trap 2. The airtight excuse. Every single disappearance comes wrapped in a reason that sounds completely fair. They were tired, work was crazy, they needed rest. And here's the tricky part. The excuse is usually true. That's exactly what makes it so hard to catch. It's almost impossible for the people around them to name what's really happening, because there's nothing obviously wrong to point to. Trap 3. The solo fix-it. When something feels off inside, they don't reach out. They research, they read, they analyze the problem from every angle, all on their own, like it's a project to complete quietly in a back room. Nobody gets invited in to watch them struggle in real time. Think of it like someone stitching up their own wound in private, rather than asking someone to sit with them at the hospital. It might get the job done. But healing alone, every time, slowly teaches the mind that no one else is allowed to help. Before we go further, hear this clearly. This isn't about guilt. You didn't choose this pattern. It was built before you were old enough to have any say in it. And just by watching this, noticing it in yourself, you've already done the hardest part. So let's talk about what actually helps. Step 1. Name the urge before you act on it. The next time you feel that pull to cancel plans, go quiet or pull back, pause for 1 second and just say it in your head. This is the pattern talking, not the plan. Naming it takes away some of its power. Step 2. Practice small, low-stakes honesty. You don't need to pour your whole heart out overnight. Start tiny. Try one plain, unpolished sentence with someone you trust, like, "That actually really bothered me." Then just notice, you survive it. Nothing breaks. Step 3. Let someone in before you're ready. Reach out on a day you'd normally disappear. This isn't about feeling comfortable. It's about proving to yourself that connection doesn't cost what you think it costs. Step 4. Build a repair habit, not just a withdrawal habit. When you do pull away, and sometimes you will, make reconnecting something scheduled, not something you wait to feel ready for. Think of it like a muscle. You don't wait until you feel strong to go to the gym. You show up, and the strength builds after. Reaching out works the same way. Readiness rarely comes first. It comes from doing the thing anyway. Let's end where we started, with John Bowlby. He wrote that all of us, from the cradle to the grave, are happiest when life is built as a series of small trips out from a secure base. Someone or something steady to leave from and come back to. That's it. That's the whole goal. Not never leaving, not never needing space, just having a place to return to that feels safe. And here's why this matters more than it might seem. Left alone, this pattern doesn't just cost one person their friendships or their relationships, it quietly gets passed down. A child watching a parent manage love from a distance learns the same lesson without a single word being spoken. Love is safer far away. And so the cycle keeps going, one generation teaching the next how to disappear. But it can stop. It stops with one person deciding to stay in the room a little longer than feels comfortable. One honest sentence. One reach out on a day they'd normally go quiet. So if this sounds like someone you know, a friend who's gone quiet, a family member who always has a reason, send them this video. And if it's you, if you saw yourself in this today, hit subscribe. Because next week we're going deeper. We're talking about how to actually rebuild a secure base as an adult, even if you never had one growing up.